Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Today is the 188th episode of Be With Me, 7 Minutes of Biblical Wonder. And we're in a passage about church discipline, about the consequences of sin when one brother steps on another brother's toes. Let me read it for you. This is from Matthew chapter 18. We're going to start in verse 15. If your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. So that's DEFCON 1. That's where it's a solo activity of one-on-one with the goal of gaining your brother. Then we go to DEFCON 2, verse 16. But if he does not listen, take 2 or 3 others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. We talked about the pricity of sin and how it has porous borders, so other people are also aware of this. Then verse 17, if he refuses to listen to him, tell it to the church. So that's DEFCON 3. So you're getting the authority of the pastors and the organizational system of the church involved. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. And that's where we get the whole commitment of the church to treat you as you are acting, and you get from being inside the church to being outside the church. That's DEFCON 4. And then verse 18, which we're going to talk about today. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth, the earth shall be loosed in heaven. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Just tell you a little story that we had a little rule in our house with children that whatever the teacher said goes. That is the authority of your teacher at school. That authority stands here in our home. So we, as the Almighty Parent, gave our children's teacher temporary authority for those 6 hours a day, 9 months out of the year. That is, her words and her goals and her effort were as good as gold in our household. That's the good side of it. The bad side of it is that her disciplining was also as good as gold in this household. So if she thought that there was something that needed to be disciplined in the classroom, you flip your cards. They have a bunch of ways of doing it in school nowadays. That if you were punished in school, you were going to be punished at home as well. So I thought that was a good picture. That similarly here in our passage today is the Lord allows us as human beings to participate in a heavenly, God-ordained process of authority. Now, keep in mind that one day there will be no earthly authority. So when we get to heaven, there's not going to be a person that's a captain of the football team or anyone who has the office currently of mother or husband or church elder or CEO of a company. Jesus is going to be the ultimate authority, and we're all going to be tipping our hats to him and bowing our knees to him and worshiping. But in the meantime, he allows us to participate in it, and he delegates, in a sense, this authority to us for a while. I liked how the ESV Study Bible said it, that we have authority to exercise discipline concerning right and wrong conduct for those in the kingdom. So in our story here today, i.e., one brother has sinned against another brother, so the church has the authority to define what's a sin and what's not a sin. Let's define terms. And then what is the process, the DEFCON 1, 2, 3, 4 part of it, in how we deal with it. Now, obviously, too, the burden here on the person that has authority or the institution that has authority, because you know that this is from God, that this is a God-given authority, it sobers you right up as far as how do you do that authority. So understanding that we borrow authority from him, that tells the person who's under authority, why would you obey that authority? Because it's a God-given authority. Well, how about the person that has authority? Why do you want to be careful with that? Well, because it's a God-given authority. I was even thinking of a line leader. So a little second grader, on their way to the cafeteria, gets the responsibility occasionally of being line leader to march the rest of the second graders down to the cafeteria. The teacher may stand in the back of the line or whatever, and he gives a little second grader to the charge of walking down the hall. Or maybe a 6-year-old given the authority to say, hey, watch your sister for a second here while I take this phone call, or something like that. Even those little teeny responsibilities, in a sense, according to this passage and according to the way the Lord has designed the world, are God-given responsibilities. So do you have a boss at work? And if you do, know that she is borrowing authority from the Lord, for now. It's a delegated authority. So in 1 Peter chapter 2, 1 Peter talks a lot about submission to authority, being subject to authority. So 2 verse 13, be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme or governors as sent by him to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do good. So the charge is to be subject, to obey this authority. Why? Because for the Lord's sake, the Lord has instituted it, and we obviously want to be careful of it. So who is the boss of me? This is the question in our passage today. Who carries weight, and how did they get it? And then what are my duties to that person, and to whom are they owed, and how did they get it? So if I'm authority, I think one of the lessons here is be sober-minded about this. Why? You borrowed that authority from heaven. Or if I'm underneath authority as a child or as a worker, or as in the case of our passage here, a parishioner, church member, brother in the family of God, be sober-minded about the authority that's above you. Why? Because it's borrowed from heaven. It's a God-given authority. So stick around. Tomorrow, I promise that episode 189 is going to rock your world. See you then. Thanks for listening.